All right. All right, it appears as if we are live. Let me get into my plans. There we go. All right. So, everything's up, and I'm ready to go. So, while I'm waiting for people to shuffle in, I thought I'd go over something that happened this week. So I don't know about all y'all, but I actually enjoy anime. So, given this, you know I'm always looking for good anime to watch. And I was hanging out yesterday. I got home from the gym and I was hanging out yesterday. And I was on... First. Hi, how's it going? I was hanging out yesterday and I was on Netflix. I was on Netflix looking for Spy X Family, or however you're supposed to call it. And Netflix doesn't have it, actually. So I looked down, it's recommended. And I found an anime called The Forgotten Neverland. When I tell you I binged that anime, there's just the whole first season done. It's not... I don't have anything more to watch. It's great if you like mystery and that sort of horror. It's horror. It's great if you like that sort of hidden horror where you don't know everything that's going on. It's just fantastic. But yeah, let's hop into this. Let's hop into the actual language related stuff. I say that because I started a Twitter account because, gotta spread the word. And I was looking through my feed, and I saw this language called Emai, I think it is. I think it's pronounced. And I mainly saw this thing. This absolute horror of a vowel inventory. So the overview of vowels says it, but there's the historically back vowels. Now in the modern language are only distinguished by rounding from the front vowels. Yeah. So it says that these front rounded vowels are actually they're variable. They're in free variation with back rounded vowels. So might be pronounced as oo, and might be pronounced as oo, and might be pronounced as o. But the front vowel is more common, which is just insane to me. As a lover of front rounded vowels, this is so heartening. But yeah, I literally have Twitter for all of 2 minutes, and I find this cursed thing. And I thought the coda was cursed for its phonology. Oh my gosh. Yeah, right? But no all. It's weird. It's so weird. you'd think, because everything is like so fronted, there would be like that open vowel would be back. But no, apparently. We can look. Amy Duar and Bill Palmer, 2021. Ooh. It appears that I have a paper to read. We will, I'll have to look at that, because that's new. That's recent. Alright. So, let's move into, Kea, because that's where we're starting today. We're starting with Kea. For those of you watching that don't know, later on YouTube, Kea was my first language that I felt comfortable enough to show. It's the first language that I felt confident enough to show, and it was my second language in total, the first of which I have no... I think the only thing left is like a quote-unquote dictionary. So, yeah, and that dictionary was just not at all completed. But it ended up being very German. Because that's the only language I was familiar with other than English. Enough to say, hey, I want to do this. So Kea was the language right after that when I said, maybe, just maybe, we should try and do something cool. So I created a CV language that features aspirated stops, the uvular stop and fricative, which is in free variation with the velar fricative. But late in its history, I ended up messing with tenses. Or very recently, I ended up messing with tenses. And the tenses that it had before my rework were perfective, imperfective, and perfect, non-past, and infinitive. And the infinitive did like double duty as nominalizer. Zero derivation. But my big thing was the infinitive tense. And yes, tense. Because it wasn't... Not infinitive tense, the imperfective tense. Yes, tense. Because I had this idea that you could use it for continuous actions and stuff that is not... Stuff that's just not a single moment in time. Now, there's an innate problem with that. Because the idea of a perfective is to give context. I've sung the praises of the Conlangery podcast so many times. I'm gonna do it again. In the episode on aspect that they did, they explained that the imperfective is used to give context. As in, I was running, and then I got hit by a bus. I was running, imperfective, and got hit, perfective, by a bus. Now, it goes back to that whole idea of if you were, I don't know how common this is, but in school I was taught about dependent and independent clauses. And the perfective or imperfective aspect is usually what makes a dependent clause. Of course, there are like instances where you can use the imperfective and it's not dependent, but generally when you are stating something, the imperfective needs some sort of perfective. So I ended up reworking that. So now we have a difference in remoteness. We have a difference of remoteness in the past tense. So we have the non-present or the non-past, the near past imperfective, the remote past imperfective, the perfective, which is generally assumed as a remote past unless stated with a near past imperfective, and then that infinitive. So yeah, that's pretty much getting caught up on it, and getting caught up on the changes I made and the things that I thought were necessary to change. So I also think I should explain more of what Kea is for those people who don't know all of the inner workings of Kea. And it was very poor of me to assume that people would watch my video and it's very poor of me to assume that people would watch my video and be like, would watch my video in order to understand things that are happening now. It's an old video. It's 100% just calqued off of Biblaridian. Like the style and everything. And people seem to like it. But I can do better. So, after I spend some time working on translations and stuff like that, and really fleshing out the language. Aw, thank you very much. After I spend some time fleshing out the language and figuring out how this whole new tense system works, that's when I'll make a new video. And I'll make it with a more me style. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna work on, we're gonna work on explaining all of what Kea is for those people who don't want to watch the Conlang showcase but still want to watch the live streams. Yeah. So let's start with, I can go up to here. And I'll just use this as an outline to talk about what is important. Okay, so noun class. I say noun class because there is no agreement. Kind of. There is sort of agreement in the fact that only animate nouns can take the definite article, as in the, and in fact it's necessary. You have to take it, or animate nouns have to take it. But more or less, the noun class system breaks down into inanimate and animate. So, and they are semantic animacy. Oh, hello, Moon Truther. How's it going? We're just explaining the basics of Kea before I start diving into translation. So, two noun classes, animate and inanimate. The animate class can... the animate class is the only one that takes the definite article and the ablative case. Kind of. It's a little more messy than that, but I'll explain. I'll explain later. The animate class is the only one that takes the ablative as an ablative. And the genitive as only a genitive. So, as I have explained here, Kea, just person, is not grammatical. But Kea po is animate, it's grammatical, the person. And Kea ho is a person. That's also grammatical. But if we were to take words like rock, I just have this one memorized. Fire. Teana. The word for fire, teana, is considered inanimate. Actually, let me make sure I'm not lying. So, okay. Dea. So che. Wow, did I have that wrong? Che. Actually, let's do bone. Toiyo. So toiyo is toiyo po, the bone, animate, not grammatical. Oh my gosh, if I can spell. So, toiyopo. The bone, not grammatical. Not good at all. But, toiyo. Actually, let me. There we go. So, toiyo. Jeez. Bone. Inanimate. Inanimate. Alright. So, only animate objects, animate nouns, can take the definite article, or the articles. Demonstratives are fine with inanimate objects, or inanimate nouns. Demonstratives are fine, so like this, that, yonder. Those are fine. But definite articles are not. Now, let's move on. Derivation. Noun case. Here we go. Here we go. Here's what I created Kea for. Remember when I said, "Hey ship, how's it going?" So, remember when I said that I calqued my video style? This bone? Yes. The bone? No. That's pretty much it, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I like that, actually. I think I might change it later. But when I created Kea, I wanted to do something with the nouns. And I got my idea from Biblaridian. Like I got my entire video idea from. But I got the idea from Biblaridian to mix noun cases with with other prepositions. So, this genitive came from a word from. Yes, bib is good to steal from. Just not... Yeah, he's better to be inspired by than to steal from. Because his informational stuff is fairly bare bones, which I like. I like to start there. That's good to start there. But then you just get a bunch of biblangs. Biblangs! I didn't even think about that. I like that. Biblangs. You just get a bunch of biblangs if you don't go off of any other things that... Any other things. Like, if you don't step outside of Bibloridian's channel, you get copies. Or you get extremely basic things. But, I was inspired by Bibloridian to add to add a noun case from the combination of an existing noun case. Yeah, that... Okay, let me finish my thought and then I'll respond to your shit. So, taking an adposition and combining that with an already existing noun case, which you can see. You can see in how these noun cases work, how the genitive and ablative look fairly similar. The fact that they... the fact that they both start with a stop or an aspirated stop, plural having an aspirated stop, and singular having a plain stop. But you can see that they're semi-related. Yeah, so yeah, back to that idea of biblangs. No, that was my first language. That was my language that I was talking about earlier. Kea is not my actual first language. Kea is my second language, my first one that I felt confident in showing. But my first language was 100% a biblang. 100% a biblang. I did that thing when you look up to somebody and you respect their opinion so much that you only accept answers from them. And you can... I don't know if I ashamedly took down my comments on his videos, but there are videos... yeah. Yeah, so there are still videos of bibs that I have comments on asking questions, and I don't know if I ashamedly took them all down, but I know that I have at some point commented and looked for a response from him, and only accepted the response from him. I'm better now. I'm better at accepting ideas now. But yeah, that was I was a noob. And so, Ship, I don't think that polypersonal agreement in and of itself is bib-like. If it's when you take multiple aspects. To me, it's when you take multiple aspects from those Bibloridian videos and think, this is a full language. This is what language is. And it's not creative. You need to step back and think. Step back and think, am I creating something on my own, or am I looking at what Bibloridian is doing and copying him? Alright, back to noun case. Moon Truther. That is exactly it. Gen plus gen plus away. Genitive, because the genitive case came from a word like from. So, taking that word from and just plopping it onto the genitive case, you ended up with the ablative. Now, the ablative is only able to be taken by semantically animate nouns. So, let's see if there are any examples down here. Oh, I just straight up have things dedicated to it. So, a fire alarm? I know that there is. So, long story short, my recording area is in a basement, and I've tried my hardest to get a noise gate so that anything below a certain decibel range is inaudible. So there's like a pump going on, and there was water flowing. That might be what you heard. And also, people are upstairs existing. Not going to stop them from doing that. But yeah, back on topic. So, only animate nouns. Oh, actually, it's perfect here. Pekyateho. So, some people's rock. That's a genitive for an animate noun. It is always understood as a genitive. Always. Diana po foi pehiashi. So the animal faces away from my rock. From my rock. Ashi. Ash is the first person pronoun, and e is the genitive. So ashi, my rock. And then pei is the genitive form of rock. So that is understood as an ablative for in this case. But it still takes the genitive case. So these are good, I believe. They're very just looking to find some examples, but ja mishaya koloho. So you all are going away from the snakes, or from some snakes. Like, you're running away from snakes. Ship. Kind of. They kind of have the same form. It's a little different, because inanimates can take the ablative. But it's just a sort of analogy thing. So animate nouns take the ablative to mean the ablative. Always. Animate nouns take the genitive to mean the genitive. They also take the ablative to mean the ablative. Inanimate nouns can take the genitive to mean a genitive or an ablative, and then you can form an imperative. You can form an imperative by using the ablative on an inanimate noun. So, Misha Pealo. Ashi. So, go, rock, ablative, so, Mesha Pealoashi means get away from my rock. as an imperative instead of. It's also the exclusion of the subject. Because generally they're assumed. I feel like that's just typologically common. Imperatives don't necessarily need a subject. Oh, no. Yes, okay. So yeah, that's the noun case system in Kea. I think that's pretty much it for the nouns. There's some derivation, but we don't need to worry about that. I can worry about that later. But let's move into translating. So long as everybody understands. Animate. Well, I don't have very much derivation. I think the most I have currently is augmentative, diminutive. Oh yeah, I remember that was 100% accidental, and I loved it. And then kai is an abstract sort of thing. But yeah, let's get into translation. So this is pretty much. Right now I'm working on translating the title sort of. Yeah. Oh my gosh, accidental infixes are great. Amazing. But I'm working on translating that head of the video. So that's this. And we can. The original translation was something to the effect of Kea o. No, it's Kea o. Ke ko po to a I ka ke a te ae alo. So the biggest difference here, I made no difference in phonological forms for the tenses. I just stole whatever. I just stole the already existing forms and repurposed them. So o is just the general non-past copula, which isn't a problem. I don't think that was too bad, but I preferred kappa. So ke kappa ke kopoto ai ka kia te omoai. Kia te ae alo. There was omo ae. So ke kappa ke kopoto ai ka kia te ae alo. That's essentially nothing much changed. I took out omo, which was an in. It was a preposition meaning in. The big difference, the big change I made was in this. Nisa huapo kofe areapa. I didn't know how to translate occurred. The word occurred. I didn't know whether to go for the more metaphorical translation, or the more solid translation. And I ended up going with the solid translation. Stop. So, nesa hoa po kofe areapa. And then, let's see if I changed this very much. Fa, ga, keano, koli, iao, kama. Yeah, that looks pretty much alright. I just changed the tenses. Yeah, that's alright. So, now let's look at this. This separation created the differences in the languages of today. Now here's where we figure out how these new tenses work, because it's fun. So this separation created the differences in the language of today. It's always great looking back on something. Also, I'm aware that this is not the most efficient way to store everything. Like I said, this was my second language. Oh my gosh. Separation. Stick fighting. I remember when I invented that. Okay. So eo, comma. Ship, or Moontruther. You're Moontruther. I understand the pain. So e, ao, comma, and then what was this? What was the word this? Oh my gosh. Oh, did I have it in the nouns? See, Ship is smart. Ship is very intelligent. This, do I have... Actually, let's... Oh, no, I have it as demonstratives? Like, written in as demonstratives? Proximal demonstrative. Yep. Of course. So, to, iao, kama, to. Iao, kama, to. Ora. Yeah, the tables are so enticing. They're always just so clean. Ora. So, actually. Is this... I'd say that this is a perfective. Yeah, like that's really good. That ship, that whole word part of speech, close definition 1, close definition 2. Like, that's so smart. I started working on doing that in my nouns table, but it was a lot of work. Okay, so I'd say that is a perfective. That's just 100% a perfective. So, he, ura. Yeah, making absurd amounts of polysemous meanings. Like, that's... Yeah. Yeah, like... That's the big thing. This hobby just takes so much time. Just so much time. And then when people don't want to spend all that time, you get this. Hello, Ben. How's it going? We're just working on translating some stuff. So, gama to hiora. So, hold up, let's... leave... leave... augmentative... inf... Yeah, there's nothing wrong with producing languages without a bunch of words. It's just when it's not, like, fleshed out. And there's definitely, like, different levels to it. But, to have some idea of how things can... yeah. The thing is, to create... generally, it's smart to create some sort of pattern. Like, there's a noun and then an adjective there's a noun meaning for a noun and then an adjective meaning and then a verbal meaning. And then having some sort of pattern. You don't necessarily have to do all of those meanings just right off the bat. But you just know how it happens, you know? Yeah, it's just... To me, me and my 100% like certified opinion. Like, that's just me. Okay, so approximate PFV make differences. Oh, I know I made a specific noun just for this. Yep, because of course I did. So, oh, that's the fun thing. Oh, I love this. So, we're looking at this thing right here. Hold up, let me move this into the center of the screen. For those of you not familiar with Kea and are familiar with Estonian, oh yeah, dude, I'd be all up for seeing examples of your language. That's so cool. I'd love to see it. So for those of you who are aware of Estonian, but not aware of how Kea does its vowels, those two vowels, that long ah and that short ah, those are pronounced separately. It is not an overlong vowel. Those are pronounced separately. Doanamo. The difference is pitch. It's a pitch accented language, and is there a basis for that? Did I come up with that? Did I just pull that out of nowhere? 100%. I just said, hey, maybe Kea is a pitch accent language. No, I don't believe Estonian does. Estonian just has overlong vowels. But I just decided out of nowhere, Kea is going to be a pitch accent language. So that's the main difference. Doanamo. But those two vowels are pronounced separately. And it's always great when there are two long vowels next to each other. So like say toanamo. It's just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But toanamo. This is why I 100% needed those macrons. Just 3 A's in a row. You don't know which one's the long one. So I'll just oh, I can't do that. I can't do anything with the English keyboard or with a QWERTY keyboard. To say head id. I love that. Head id. I love that. That is fantastic. What's the difference? Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah, QWERTY sucks. So longer than that. Had id. Is that better? Is it getting louder? Was the volume raise in perfect for it? Had id. Oh. Difference. Plural. Accusative. And then seal. I know seal is what. Then that leads me to a question. Given that seal is an adposition, do we helping someone do the English subtitles for an Estonian movie. That's cool. It's very cool. Now, because seal is an adposition, do we want to add case marking onto it just to be like the languages of today, of now? Or do we want to just kind of leave that as juxtaposition? Corrected her English because you speak no Estonian. That's great. But do we want case marking on adpositions, or do we want inflecting postpositions, or do we want just juxtaposition to show like what that is? That's my question. I'm fine with both, but I am like leaning a little towards more just juxtaposition. Okay. Yeah, inflecting adpositions and case is a bit overkill. I hear you, Ship. I hear you. Okay, so there we go. So there's that line finished. Well, Turkish and Hungarian do it. Well, Turkish and Hungarian are their own thing. So it's not mental. Nah. I think I'll sit on what I have. Okay, so now with this we can show the difference between kapa and o, which is great. So Kea is a language lost to time, being the first descendant of the first language. So Kea, this would be O, because we're referring to it now, as in the present. It is, not it was. It is. Kea is a language lost to time. Kea o ke ko po. Kea o ke ko po. Foe ne sa. Now let's make sure I have that correct. Foe. There we go. Yes! Oh my gosh. To stand behind. Oh my gosh. I remember coming up with that and thinking I was so clever. The stands left behind is just stands behind. I thought I was so clever. Well, no, left after. I thought I was, or standing after. I thought I was so clever for that. So, Ofochie. Also, another accidental infix. Chifoe. So, perfective is a language left behind. So remote imperfective. Yeah, afoy. Oh my gosh, afoy nesa. Okay. Cop. Because it. Why would it be imperfective? When I came up with the phrase, I figured it would be standing after. Like standing after something. Like left standing after something. Well, that's it's not still being lost. That's continuous. Which is the same thing as an imperfective. Yeah, you know, that makes sense. So chifoy. Yes. Yes, it's a thing still standing after being lost. Like the next line in the translation implies now only the gods remember it. It's still there. It's still there, just forgotten. So, foi nesa, and nesa is just after. Yes. I used the translation lost to time because that's the closest approximation I could make for it. That's the closest approximation I could make for the standing behind or standing after. Language. Hold up. Gekko. What? What's that? Hold up. Okay. Oh. Where is it? Where is it? Okay. It's the... Okay. Geko. Then I'll just run up here. SG. Remote PFV or imperfective IMPFV stan after que ocupou a foi nessa so being the first descendant of the first language. So it. Would that be? Would I have that as a remote past imperfective copula functioning? Like, would I have that as the copula, or should I do that as it, or because it is? I could do that. I think I'm gonna do that. Bam. So, because third or three copula. Yes, it is nominative. Oh wait, so you could nominal. Nominalize being and put it in the ablative? Why would I put it in the ablative? That is... Ship. You are a genius. So cop infinitive. Okay, so it's oma alo or omaalo. That's insane. Dude, I can't believe that is... It's just fantastic. Oh, I'm a liar. It's not oma, it's o. Is it? Is that very common? Dang. I guess Latvian likes to do that with the genitive. Well, yeah, that's sort of the same idea I have going on here, isn't it? It's the genitive acting as an ablative. Or for being. Yeah. Yeah, you know, that works. Oh, don't even act like that. I didn't put that in here. Oh. Did I? Okay. Okay. And then we're just gonna... Descendant lang. Or gay. Let's think. Let's see how it does it otherwise. I'm trying to do... So, let me explain what I'm doing. I'm trying to do... diminutivization. I'm trying to apply a diminutive, but I don't have anything diminutive. I think. Oh, yes I do. Branch. Little tree. Giffa. So Giffa. Yeah. And then because analogy, Giffa. Gehofa. Yeah, I love the... Yeah, it's always nice when synthetic languages can jam affixes to make meanings that would require extra words in analytical languages. It's beautiful. I love it. That's why I love what I did with the ablative, and why I love what I did with the different tenses. It's just amazing. So ge go fa language dim coffee ge geki in Latvian there is a prefix ya which forms the debitive mood. Must be done. Debitive. Do you mean dubitative? Or do you mean... I don't know. What do you... Explain debitive. It sounds like a necessitive to me. Like the terminology I know. Like a necessitive aspect. Coffee. Keki. In the books. The books. Alright. That's interesting. Keki. Bam. SG. Oh. 1 ordinal. Keki. Coffee. 1 ordinal. Then now only the gods remember it. So, Sio. What did I have as only? Did I have a word like alone? Did I? Of course I did. Of course I just had the word meaning only. And I never... I never created the oblique form for it. Oh, I never created the oblique form for it. Alright. So... Do, fi. And then... Rarapa. For example, gulet is to sleep, and I have to sleep is man yagu. Interesting. And I'm assuming that it at the end is the infinitive form. Toa fi rarapa. What was? Yeah. Gotta love infinitives. You know, for a long time I never understood the necessity for an infinitive. Then I learned what it did. Oh, L with the tail is the palatal lateral. Alright. Toa firara pasomo siyo. So this one was... Actually, was it? Was it that easy? Nah, it was that easy. Whoops. So, God... Plural... Only... Durative... No... Somo 3 ac. Now, boom, translation done. All right, that was fun. We have an actual decent translation of Kea. Now I just have to do more. Alright, so... Oh, gotta give a dramatic reading. Let me take a drink first, then I'll... Oh, okay. Kea kapa ke kopo to ai ka kia te ai alo. Nesa hoa po kofe are apa. Apa. Do a po hite kea no fa ka kea no okoli I au kama. I au kama to hiora to ana mosio. Kea o ke kopo a foe nesa. O oalo ke kofa kofe ke ki kofe. Do a firarapa somosio. Alright. And now I have the intro to the updated Kea showcase. Alright. So there's that. Yeah, I explained it in the video I made for Kea. If I said it quickly, it would have a very Estonian cadence. Interesting. I've never heard that. Well, I have no round front vowels. that was that was just kind of something I decided not to include in this language, even though I love them. I love front round vowels. I'm a Germanic lover. I'm a fan of the Germanosphere. and especially West Germanic. Dude. Well, if I ever get around to making the daughter languages for Kea, you better believe there's going to be some front round vowels. They're just 100% going to be some front round vowels. Alright. So, now, let's move on to the second half of this. The second half of this stream. Working on Proto-Ofsumir. Now, if you've noticed, I've put quotation marks around Ofsumir in everything. Like, everything. Because Ofsumir is just the working title. That's pretty much how it's gonna go. I don't really care if Ofsumir stays the name of the language. But heck, I don't even have R. I don't even have the tapped R in the phonology. So yeah, we're pretty much set on Ofsumir, or I'm pretty much set on Ofsumir not being the actual name. I never got around to changing that. Whoops. Alright, so, Proto-Ofsumir. This is pretty much the phonology. Liquid nasals. I like this phonology for a proto language. I'm definitely more in the camp of like take small, make big. Even though generally that's the opposite way around. The opposite way around is how languages evolve, but I'm just more of a fan of creating something out of nothing. But I have yet to detail the vowel system. So we're just gonna... I have an idea of what I want the vowel system to look like, but I'm not 100% sure about it. So this is my idea for the vowel system. Front, back, bam, close, mid, open, E, E, U, U, or O, U, U, E, E, O, and then That's my idea. And then take these 6 vowels, or 7 vowels rather, with length distinction, and turn them into these 5 vowels. I'm not sure if I want a length distinction in those or not. It would definitely throw some curveballs into the agreement system I have worked out. just as a review, I wanted a vowel mutation system for the agreement, for subject agreement. Or argument agreement. I'm not sure which argument it's going to be, but there's going to be an argument that agrees with apophony or vowel mutation or umlaut, whatever. So these long vowels might, if I keep them, they might throw a little bit of a wrench in there. Which, I don't know. I don't know if I like the idea of just something being something like that vowel loss distinction, or vowel length distinction, messing things up. If you were here for the last stream, or if you saw the last stream, by the end, Sawton just corrupted me, and that's how we got these. Mind you, I already had the idea for the heavily aspirated aspect, but he gave me the idea for the uvular release allophony. But it's we had this and oh my gosh, what was I saying? I was saying something. Whatever. Let me look at chat quick. Maybe the long vowels could break into diphthongs. Ooh. 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 I like that. I like that a lot. I just remembered what I was gonna say. So I'll hop onto that thought after I say this. I remembered that we had, or that I had this and these boys just causing havoc. Absolute havoc to the vowel system. It's just an absolutely beautiful system where it was something to the effect of E is allophonic with oo, oo is allophonic with E, A is allophonic with O, O is allophonic with A, and then A is allophonic with IA and A, and A, A, A. Now, do you see the problem? Do you see the problem with that? With an apophony system that is pretty much E, U, or A, O, where all of these vowels mean something different. They're actually phonemic. I don't know if you see the problem with that. But I liked the idea of things being messed up. But I realized after the stream, like, maybe that's a little too much. Which we still can have these sounds have some sort of effect on the vowels, but definitely not to the effect that they were. Now, onto what you said about the vowel breaking. So, ooh, minus ATR. Minus ATR, I like that. I like that a lot. We'll see. We'll see. So, for that vowel breaking thing. So, it's important to note that the way I had it planned out is that palatal consonants, or velar consonants rather, become palatal consonants in front of front rounded vowels, and then those rounded vowels would become back rounded vowels. So the distinction falls onto the consonant instead of the vowel. The thing is, that also happened with, oh my gosh, with things like semivowels. So you'd end up with ka. You'd end up with ku to tu and ga to ka. And then you would get the odd cases where it would be kye to ke, or ki to ki. And then later in the language, or how did I have it? I had it so it affected it only affected velars first. So there would be, hold on, let me palatalization. Okay. And then I had a vowel mutation. Okay, so that's how that worked. Which, I don't know what I can do with that. I can do something with that, but I don't know. And then later in the language's history, I had something to the effect of tia, create, cha, or dia. Oh my gosh. Ja. Which is how we get this distinction here. The reason why there are no fricatives, palatal fricatives, is because, well, h just merged back with ch. Or I could have h merge with sh. Something to think about. But with that idea of breaking long vowels, so e to ya, e to ya, yeah. We could do the rounded open vowel. I'll think about that. Yeah, or ya, a becoming ye. Like, so I and au and a, or ye, or how would that work for long e, or for long e? Would that be I? Oh. So then we can pull a French. We can pull a French and have a eat to eat to uch. And then e to dang QWERTY keyboards. A to or to out. Oh, I just had the most terrible thought. I just had the worst. Just had the absolutely worst possible thought. Ouch. 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 Eat to out to out to ouch. Oh, that would be absolutely terrible. Again, I'll think about that. I'm gonna make sure my stream didn't go down, because something happened in chat. Alright. Cool. I think it would also be interesting to have that. Okay. Okay, cool. That's very good. I think that would be a very interesting distinction to make only in the post-alveolars. That's... Oh. Ooh, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful idea, but I don't know. I don't know. So it to it, which wouldn't necessarily. I don't think that would cause palatalization. Well, it can cause palatalization. It happens in German. And just a plain, and then those plain vowels cause palatalization in Japanese. That's why it's she, and at least that I've heard, it's she, and then there's no like sha, sho, shu. So maybe. Ooh. So hear me out. Only the mid vowels distinguish length. Or only the mid vowels distinguish length, or there's only the mid vowels appear with diphthongs. So it becomes it. So only high vowels are long? It can be long? Or is it the opposite way around, where only high vowels and open vowels, or closed vowels and open vowels, can be all vowels distinguished except O? Okay, so hear me out. Hear my thought process out. It turns to it. And then they kind of just do that. They just kind of come back together. They just coalesce. And then out, out, out. And then I, art, ate, ach. Or we could just say long vowels, long mid vowels don't break. I don't think that's too rough to say. I don't think that's too terrible. And this idea, I'm trying to think of a language that has this sort of thing. I know that there are languages that have like a quote-unquote lax tense distinction in mid-vowels only. So, e, o, but all of the rest are only there. Or, tongue root. Not lax or tense. Tongue root. Is it? It's long for diphthongs to just become a long monophthong. So, beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, actually, thinking back, I read a paper on Mora. By Hayes. Dude, great paper. I'll have to post that in the Schwa Discord. Great. The vowel in great. That's just a long A. Great. Or long E. No, A. For me, at least, in my dialect. Great. That's great. That's which dialect are you talking about where it's just a long E? Or long A. Great. Is that like a Irish, or is that one of those Irish or Scottish dialects? Yorkshire. Shane Bain. And then thinking to the minimal learning I've done of Irish. So here's one thing you'll have to know about me, and I've been the butt of many jokes for this. I don't watch many movies. I don't watch many TV shows, so I don't know who Sean Bean is. Boromir. Then who is Aragorn? Who is Aragorn? Oh! Wow! Oh, Boromir! Oh, you simply can't... One does not simply. Okay. Got it. Oh, were you saying just E as in the long E phoneme in... Or... Oh no, think Yorkshire accent. My bad. So, after that... Okay. Greet. Oh, a long E. Greet. Oh. Sean Bean. Bean. There we go. I promise I understand things. I swear. Okay, so 8 to I8, back to 8, then out to out, back to out. So that leads to many questions, for me at least, about like how that would work in an agreement system. In the agreement system I have. So like amit, amat. Oh my gosh. Amut. You know what? That wouldn't be amat. That would be a much. That would be a much. That's very interesting because a mate, a much, a moot. In French, I became e and au became o. Correct. That is right. Parler. No, that's easy. Je t'aime. I believe t'aime is spelled je t'aime. Mind you, I only have like a basic understanding of French. But I believe that's how it's spelled. Je t'aime. I believe. But yes, I also have a side effect of with this whole vowel alternation. Because the second person pronoun was ha, or at least that's what I have it as currently. So ha. We can just say I have it spelled J-E-J-T-A-I-M-E. I can zoom in. Yes. Okay. I can zoom in if you need. Not a problem. Okay. So I have a little bit of a amat, amit, ye, amit, ha, and then amut. So these are this is how the argument agreement evolved. It started from the pronoun ye, ha, and then prodrop. So this whole H there has some effects because that ha is how we got these bad boys. So amat ha would become amat, or not amat, amat. And then amatye would become amit, which would be fine. And then amut. But if we were to do something like ha, and then we might end up with something like a meat, a might, might, and a moot, or a moot, which we would end up with a much, and a moot. Not too bad. I like that. And then if they're mid vowels instead of close vowels, we might end up with a might, ye, a might, a might, a mout, and then all of that comes back to a mate, a much, and a moot. I like that. I like that a lot. And to protect the distinction, it might, or not that. There we go. That a much might turn into a meech, just to protect the e a u sort of deal. Yeah, that. If you haven't caught on, analogy is a very big part of this language. All right. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that it's not just the vowels. I like that there is some messiness about it. Oh, CH would become That's we would have a heavily aspirated affricate. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's beautiful. Or just an aspirated affricate. So we bam, bam. Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh, this is beautiful. And then just because they might not, because the vowel is the more important aspect of the conjugation, they would turn it back to amich. this... I'm following the Hebrew example of analogy, where you kind of just do things. You just do things to protect things. Now, this is a very... This is a question I have. Well, no. That could just be... Or we could do the thing where A... I don't know. I don't know. Because right now the question I have is, what do I do about palatalization with rounded vowels? What do I do with palatalization? Yeah, because that front vowel wouldn't create an affricate. That mid vowel would not create an affricate. So do I just have A and merge? Or do I have the rounding just be thrown off onto the stop? Very interesting questions. I don't know. So, I think this is a very important place to state that I generally stay on the smaller side just to avoid doing the kitchen sink thing, but I don't know. This is very, like this has a historical explanation, but is it too much? And I don't know if there are examples of progressive rounding. I know that there are examples of progressive palatalization, like in French. I just don't know if there are examples of progressive rounding, because there's examples of regressive rounding. There's examples of regressive all sorts of things coming from vowels. Look at literally any of the Caucasian languages that only have two vowels. Quote unquote, two vowels. Two vowel phonemes, that is. Generally, they'll have like palatalized forms of consonants, and they'll have labialized and like just the and that happens because non-open vowels become schwas, and the rounding or the fronting gets thrown onto the consonant before it. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to do some research on it. And get back to this. But yeah, so now we have some outlines and a little bit more work on the phonology. Now I guess phonotactics. Man, it took us 3 weeks. It took us 3 weeks to get to a place where we can work on the phonotactics. So bam, 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 or whoops. Bam. Alright, so phonotactics. Syllable structure. Well, Proto is CVC. So do we want to introduce a complex syllable structure, or do we want it to kind of, you know, let's say CVCC. Just for now. Or actually, is there any point... Hold up. Declare syllables. Oh, I had, CCVC in the Proto language. Or CLVC. Let's see. Oh, CLVCC. Is there any other... We're just gonna... So Proto-Lang is C L V V C CLVC. All right. So CLVCC, I'm fine with that. That's not something... That's not something I'm against. Why did that happen, though? Why did I have to declare a new syllable structure? Word final vowel loss. That's why. Yeah, because you would end up with, like, words like tongue, tonka, which would then turn into tonk. So you have to say, hey, you're allowed 2 syllables at the end of a consonant. Oh. Oh, hello. You're catching us at the end of the stream. I'm almost done. But just to catch you up on everything, I translated something into Kaya, and we worked on this monstrosity. And hey, I could use an outsider's opinion. Someone who hasn't been watching this stream. Given this, do we want there to be a possible labialization distinction on these boys? Or on these boys? The idea is that it would come from progressive rounding assimilation, or just throwing the rounding onto the preceding vowel. It's It's an idea that I like. Alright. Now, it is important to note that we do have a double aspiration distinction in stops. We have a three-way voice distinction. Highly aspirated, aspirated, or 2 degrees of aspiration, and then a voiced. Yeah, that's why I'm hesitant. The fact that I have so many consonants already. And obviously, to refute that, I can just point to all of the Caucasian languages. But yeah, that's my thing. The fact of the matter is it would be phonemic. That rounding would 100% be phonemic. Because you can't distinguish when it would be rounded. Yeah, that's the big thing. You know what? As a final statement, me putting my foot down, because obviously I'm so aggressive. Me putting my foot down, I think we're gonna hold off on the labialization. If we ever decide to make a sister language or a dialect of this, we might add labialization. We might add labialization, and if it's a sister language, we might get rid of this distinction entirely. But I think I'm just gonna say there's no labialization, and yeah. In one of my abandoned projects, which I need to work on. I need to work on that one more because it was so cool. I pulled a Latin and did velar, labiovelar things. So the name of the language is Guaishachat. So Guaishachat. Guaishachat. But yeah, I think if at some point we decide to make a sister language for this, I think we'll do labialization then. And also, this deal, this is why I have aspirated and parentheses. Because sister languages might not have that aspiration distinction. So, planning ahead, just in case. But I really like where we're at. I like that we were able to settle the vowel inventory. Close, mid, open, front, back. We were able to touch on that. Oh, do you know the thing for this language? Majahadra? I may be pronouncing that totally wrong. But the thing for this language is vowel alternation for subject agreement or argument agreement. I'm not sure which argument it would be, but one of the arguments of a verb would cause ablaut. So a stem might look like that. And then a meet for first person. Amat for second person, and that's because the second person pronoun does things to the final consonant. But then amut because of analogy. That's the big thing. I wanted to do a lot of analogy in this language. But that's all I have for today. I'm glad that we got to do this translation. I'm glad that we got to do this translation for Gaia. And I'm really glad that we were able to settle some things for Ofsumir. Alright, I'm glad you all had fun. Alright. Thank you for watching. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright. Have a good one, y'all.